Well, folks, thank you very much for joining me on another brilliant, I'm sure will be brilliant, I say it myself, but I'm going to say it nevertheless, episode of Fearless, the new podcast out from Advance UK, making sure that Advance UK gets its voice out there irrespective of what mainstream media think of us. So here we are today, and I'm delighted to welcome Right Said Fred.
Hi.
Fred, who presumably gets mentioned first every single time.
As I should.
For which I'm very sorry, Richard.
So it's all right. I've learned to live with it.
But you are equally welcome on the show.
Thank you very much.
Fred and Richard Fairbrass, thank
Yes.
you very much for joining me today.
Pleasure, Ben. Thank you. Good to be here. Thank you.
Now, it seems extraordinary to me that I should be in a studio with you gents, if you don't mind saying that, because I grew up, I was a young man when I first was introduced to your music, but I saw you as kind of buffed up, muscled, singers and artists.
Right.
And for us now to be crossing paths on the political...
Yes. I know. It's weird, isn't it?
It's weird. You probably get this from a lot of political people because you've been active now politically for some years, haven't you?
Well, yes. It's a difficult thing because we don't think we have been. That's the thing.
Yeah, you think you're new to it.
We just say
a bit mouthy.
We're just a bit mouthy. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Join the club.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
so
really.
when we started, we just because we grew up at a time when we thought having a different opinion was kind of cool, and you could all talk about it, and it's everybody was fine and everything else. And then we went to a few marches, and we had people shouting at us and being horrible. And then that's when we
that was in lockdown.
That was during lockdown, yeah. And that was when we sort of realised actually something's happened in the UK. It began, I think, with Brexit, when it was the whole gammon thing and Ramona, all that rubbish, And so the idea of having a nuanced conversation where you just listen to somebody else's point of view and all that had gone. And that took us by surprise. And then once we were in that position, we didn't step back.
Yeah.
I think what it was is I've had this conversation on social media quite a lot. Because of I'm Too Sexy, the way we were sold and we sold ourselves, people just thought we were a couple of muscle Marys. We'd been given the song.
Muscle Marys.
Yeah, and we'd been given the song and we can't write, we can't play. And then...
Can't think.
Yeah, we had the one-hit wonder thing, then Don't Torch Us Kiss was a hit and Deeply Dip in the album. And we did an interview not long ago and they described us as a 7-hit wonder. I thought, is there such a thing?
Is there such a thing?
Is there such a thing?
They're rewriting the rules for you.
Yeah, they are,
right?
as we go.
Yeah.
And I think what it was is that people expected Tom York maybe, or the Charlatans, or Sleaford Mods, one of these sort of more
edgy,
the perception being sort of politically motivated or edgy, that would speak up. And because we did, I think a lot of people thought we'd changed lanes. When in fact, our position is, with I'm Too Sexy, just quick with that, every record company hated it. We couldn't get arrested with it. So we released it without a record deal. We had no money.
But brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we had no money.
Yeah.
We had nothing. We had a young girl who was the manager, and we had a promotion company who said, if it starts to break, we'll put a label together to service it. But it actually went to radio, got released without a record deal.
It was never A-listed, actually, I don't think.
I don't think it ever got
I don't think it was ever A-listed, no.
So our position is, if we did that because we actually don't care what people think. We thought I'm Too Sexy was a great record and should be heard, so we released it ourselves.
Yeah, nice. And presumably you made more money that way too, didn't you? Not being tied to a record label.
Yes.
To a degree, it could work against you because we were talking to, Richard was friends with Kenny Everett, and Kenny said, when we were talking about I'm Too Sexy, he said, they'll never forgive you. I said, what do you mean? He means the industry, the music industry will never forgive you
out of the norm.
for proving them wrong.
Yeah.
Because that song, it's not just a hit, it's gone on and will continue to go on.
Yeah.
That was his prophecy sort of thing. And I didn't really believe it at the time, but he's been proved right. They haven't forgiven us. And we still get, we're still looked at with a side eye.
Good. Well, can I just say many, many congratulations for not being forgiven?
Yeah, absolutely. The unforgiven.
The unforgiven.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So from our point of view, us speaking out is totally in keeping with us not caring about if we get a record deal or not. Because
that's such a good attitude.
Yeah, I mean, we still have that attitude.
And can I just say, that attitude for me is how this country was. It was,
yes.
We like it. We're just going to get up. We're going to do it.
Exactly.
It was a can-do.
Yeah, it was. Absolutely.
It was, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We noticed that we lived in America, in New York for a while. And what I liked about America back then was that. It was exactly that. We went out there with a cassette one microphone and a ghetto blaster, and we did gigs.
Yeah.
And we didn't care. I mean, if I think back, it was probably absolutely ghastly. But
we got signed.
But we got signed and we didn't care.
EMI signed us.
And you had motivation.
Yeah, exactly.
You had initiative.
Yeah, we just...
What they call personal agency nowadays.
Personal agency.
Is that what
they call it?
That's what they call it. They've got a different word for everything nowadays.
It's personal agency.
Personal agency.
Well, it's a bit like barista.
Yeah.
Isn't it like that?
I know, making coffee.
Making coffee.
But it was wonderful. We had a chat before the show started, obviously, and I asked you very impertinently how old you are. And I won't repeat your age.
Thank you so much for that.
But I love meeting people of our kind of generation because you're slightly older than I am. But
all right.
Wind your neck in.
But, we went through the 70s. We knew what it was to be in a gritty England.
Yeah.
We knew what it was to be down and out and having to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
And then we had that wonderful period in the 1980s, which I think was a golden era for you two as well, wasn't it?
It was, well, in terms of gigs it was, because that's when we were gigging.
Great learning curve.
Great learning curve.
Yeah, for us.
But we broke in 91 and we got in just under the wire because it was just before the internet happened and socials and all that kind of stuff.
Before digitalisation of music.
Yeah.
But you played a lot already.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's the other thing. We did a book, which then got cancelled. We won't bore you. Anyway, we did an autobiography.
We won't tell you who did it.
And we were talking to the ghostwriter because he wanted a guy called Joel McIver, who's a lovely man. And he helped us put it together. And he said, I've got to ask you. He said, why? Why didn't you stop? And I said, because we can't. We don't know how to.
No.
So we started, our first UK tour was 78. And we were still banging on doors 12 years old. We didn't give a fuck.
No.
Sorry, my language. We didn't care. Yeah. And when all the record companies said, this is crap. And actually, I wish I'd kept...
Well, they said your music was crap.
Oh, dreadful. Oh, yeah. We had... Particularly, it was Island Records who went above and beyond the call of duty to describe to us how dreadful we were.
Yeah, they did.
I'm Too Sexy. They went into a long diatribe about how bad this record is. And...
Because you must have loved contacting them afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, what was interesting, we didn't realise, is that some got sacked on the back of Sexy breaking out, particularly in America. Some A&R got sacked because they hadn't spotted it or had not bothered to listen to it or cancelled it. So we've always had that sort of, this is what, sort of when the band started playing, I didn't ever consider having a job. I just thought, this is what I do. Yeah. And I'm either going to be skint and doing it or I might make some money doing it. I mean, I don't know.
We had a little bit of, I remember Mum and Dad were a little bit, I remember Dad
They started to panic.
Yeah.
And you said you were middle-class boys.
We were.
Really?
How you described yourselves.
We were middle class.
Middle class.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes, definitely in the
Commuter
middle.
belt, East Grinstead. Dad was a print salesman. We never wanted for anything.
And did they have expectations that you wouldn't go into music like middle-class people often do?
No, that was your mum. Mum and Dad were quite weird because Dad was conservative with a C.
Small C.
Didn't trust politicians, didn't trust doctors, and didn't trust the church. Right. Which back in the 60s and 70s was quite rare.
And he did the hoovering.
And he would do the hoovering.
He would do the hoovering on a Sunday. It was amazing, actually.
Everything was...
And he wasn't gay or anything.
So, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
Yeah. But it was weird. They were both
just
quite...
a good guy by the sound.
Yeah, looking back, he was quite alternative in a way. The way they saw the world. Mum thought everything was BS. She just thought everything was. Didn't trust anybody. Partly because she grew up in poverty, but Dad was very middle class. And so we grew up with these two people who were pretty cynical about the world. Yeah. And Dad wanted to be a farmer, but was his family, who'd come from money, forced him into, after the war, going into print.
He couldn't find a job as a farmer.
So when we said we're going to do what we want to do, which is play, I think a side of him thought, well, good on you. Get on and do what you want to do. By the time we got to our end of our sort of mid to late 20s and we were still skint, he began to think, maybe this isn't the right.
And were you still living at home then?
No, we were living in a really dreadful apartment in Putney.
I painted it. Wasn't too bad.
It was pretty bad.
And you two are obviously very close as
yes,
brothers.
We are.
We are.
Yeah, that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
I think that's helped us during sort of our darker moments because I'm prone to depression.
I hadn't noticed.
I think that's just realistic, frankly.
Yeah, you think
do you?
Yeah,
being depressed is just a realistic,
maybe.
assessment.
I'm prone to realism.
I'm prone to realism.
Yeah, maybe it's that.
Exactly.
So I tend to bottom out sometimes and go to a bit of a dark place. And I think that I would have, particularly I started doing a lot of drugs sort of early 90s. And I think if I'd been a solo artist, I wouldn't be here now. I would have snorted myself into an early grave.
But you managed to get through the 70s without sex, drugs, and rock
I didn't
and roll.
take any drugs until mid to late 80s.
No, I didn't start smoking.
Couldn't afford it.
Didn't start smoking until I was 34.
Couldn't afford it.
I couldn't afford
That's
it.
one way to make sure people don't take drugs.
Exactly. Price people out of the market.
Exactly.
It's true.
Taxes go up and drug addiction goes down.
Unintended consequences.
Exactly.
I couldn't afford it, so
exactly.
I didn't drink much. And when we started making a little bit of money in the 80s, then when the band kicked off, I had some cash flow, and I did. Yeah, really, I was such a stereotypical idiot. You know, I went out with models, I took drugs, and it was all pretty tragic, really.
Well, it sounds awful to me.
It was a bit predictable, you know.
Yeah, so, I was the opposite. Because I was with Stuart, my partner. We just used to watch Star Trek every night. That's all we did. I did a bit here, but
was
not
that
much.
with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, the original one?
Yeah, because Stuart was HIV, had been HIV for years, and so when I met him, he wanted to go all the time, and then HIV made him much more reclusive.
Yeah,
and I think he saw himself as being. He used to use the word dirty, but I think that was just him not wanting to.
Well, it was stigmatised.
It was stigmatised heavily, and we had people banging on the door and shouting horrible things through the letterbox and all that. Bad time. Margaret Thatcher.
That was just me.
And that was just you.
And do you miss the 70s and 80s?
Do
you have a nostalgic?
I miss the spirit.
Yes, the spirit. Yeah.
When we were getting in and out of record deals, you would literally I'd have a bag. You'd have 30 cassettes in it, and you'd bang on doors. And they say, what do you want? And you go, I want a bloody record deal is what I want. Yeah. And you'd go into these tiny little labels everywhere, your Stiff Records,
everywhere.
Safari, and all these tiny labels everywhere, and agents. And there was a sense of have a go.
A bit like the early days of film, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Back in the day, the Keystone Cops period, where it was like a Wild West of art.
Yeah,
really,
I mean, the good thing about the punk movement, I thought the punk thing was a bit of a PR job. That was my personal opinion.
You think punks weren't real?
Yeah, I thought it was some were.
Yeah.
I thought I found it all a bit fake. I was working in a record shop at the time, which was then called a chart return shop, which meant that shop contributed to the sales that would go towards where you were in the charts.
Yeah.
So they got special treatment, and I saw the hype up front and personal, and the hype in the punk movement was off the chart.
And were they all middle-class people basically rebelling against their parents?
Well, I don't know about the guys so much in the bands, but for me, the only band I liked was The Clash. I thought The Clash were a great band.
Yeah,
they weren't really a punk band. I thought they really were just a really good band who could write songs. I didn't feel that about any other punk band. Just a personal opinion.
Yeah.
I'm sure lots of people should be going, you wanker, you know? But that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And but what I thought was great about the movement was the evolution of the record label. You suddenly have all these independent labels out of nowhere, basically furnishing record shops with their products.
And they were still records.
Oh, yeah, they were.
When you had your big hit, was it still records?
Yeah, vinyl back
it was
then.
vinyl.
Yeah, it was vinyl cassettes.
Yeah.
CDs broke. I don't know, when did CDs start? Oh, yeah, before that, I think.
We had one lady. Do you remember that lady? One lady we got in touch with, and her son had just died of leukemia. He was 7. And he wanted to be buried with a CD of I'm Too Sexy.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
That's so great.
It's so great, yeah. And
now you just give him an app.
Yeah, you would. Just check it on the app, babe.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But
that's horrible, isn't it?
It is horrible.
It is.
I miss my vinyl records. They were wonderful.
They are wonderful.
And we used to take pride. I'm sure you did it. I'd take pride in cleaning it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Making sure it wasn't scratched. You get really upset if someone scratched your record.
Also, I bought Ram, Paul McCartney's Ram. And it had a glitch right on the very front in the first track, I can't remember, Heart of the Country. And it jumped all the time. So I got used to listening to it for years and years and years with this little jump.
Yeah.
And then I downloaded it on the thing.
And there's no jump.
What the fuck?
Where's the jump?
Where's the jump? And the other good thing about vinyl is you can drop the needle on your favourite bit.
Yeah.
So if there's a solo, like if you listen to Lynyrd Skynyrd, and it's the solo you want to hear, you can see it from the grooves.
You can almost see it.
You can almost see it.
Yeah, you can tell.
And it was quite an art to manoeuvre.
Absolutely.
I've still got quite a lot of vinyl. The gatefold, and the disappearance of vinyl is the disappearance of the artists, the artwork guys, the graphics, and also what we do. I know it's not a big thing, but at the end of most of our videos, we credit the writers, which is normally us anyway, but the video people and the guys who made the record and all this sort of stuff. Because with the advent of digital, all those credits have gone. So if you go on your Spotify, you won't know who wrote it. You won't know who the producer is.
They're getting better with it now.
A little bit.
They're putting a bit of history around their songs
and
the lyrics.
They need to do more because they use really. You can write the record, you can play the record, but getting a hit record together is team. You need a team.
Would you say the advancement of technology and the ability for just about anyone, to produce music has dumbed down music? Has it suffered the same intellectual damage that so many other things have?
To a degree.
To a degree, I think the worst thing. I think digitalization of music made a big, Napster now, and then it was iTunes. That cheapened it in as much as people could access it so easily. But also, I think the record companies have to take some responsibility.
I think it's everybody. It's record labels, it's radio, it's the artists, it's everything.
Yeah.
And in a way...
Yeah, you're right. It's
a bit of everything.
Everyone's...
I have a mental sort of vision that you had to be really very good in the 70s and 80s to cut through. And nowadays, you just need to get someone big behind you. You can synthesize.
I don't really believe that.
You don't
No, I don't.
Okay, I'm delighted to hear that.
Yeah, I think because I remember talking to a manager we had in America years and years ago, and I was clueless, and I just implied that back in the day they didn't know what they were doing and they weren't very good, and and he must have looked at me and thought, "You stupid idiot," because they, you go back, listen to Doobie Brothers. They're great players, great songwriters, great players, and that was going way back. But I think what's interesting about art now, and you're talking about music specifically, is that the vanillaization of art generally and life in the UK is reflected in music.
Look at our stand-up comics.
But that's what I sort of mean.
Yeah, right.
You had to be better in the 70s and 80s to get through.
I think you had to be more...
I think it allowed for more individuality.
Yes, I think it did.
I think now there's a corporatization.
Okay, that's really interesting.
That's what I think.
Because there's a political parallel to that, isn't
Yes, there is. Completely.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at stand-up, and I think stand-up's a great mirror of a country, and we have, Michael McIntyre, or who's that dreadful guy?
Russell Howard.
I mean, these people are just so dreadful.
All the stand-up I watch is American.
Yeah.
Much more edgy.
But back in the day, we had whatever you think of them, we had...
Tommy Cooper.
Yeah, Tommy Cooper, Ben Elton, or we had Billy
And they
Connolly.
were pushing the edges of acceptable norms, weren't they? They were always testing it.
Yeah, they were.
Absolutely, exactly. And Jimmy Carr does that now, actually.
Yeah, and now you've got this dreadful vanilla nonsense going on, and now there's Rosie Jones, who, God bless her, good luck to her, but I don't think she's funny. It's just my opinion. I don't find her funny.
I think Ricky Gervais would agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember when I was at school being told that actually comedy, the reason you laugh is because you're presented with something that the brain can't instantly rationalize. It's had to do a 90-degree turn.
Okay.
And laughing is the mechanism by which we cope with it.
Oh, right, okay.
Because we've had to do a sudden juxtaposition.
Right.
And of course, to do sudden juxtapositions means nowadays it's sort of much more difficult because it requires you to go out of the norm.
Yes.
And this dumbing down, I think, of politics, discourse, debate, everything, it keeps you in your straight and narrow. So it's much harder to laugh.
Yes.
It's much harder to be funnier.
I think.
Okay.
Yes, I know what you're saying. I think that's true. I think it's I mean, in terms of comedy, certainly. I'm sure if you had a comedian here, he would say, "Well, we know a guy. What's the name of that guy from Middlesbrough? Chris McCann, was it? Anyway, he was given an audition for a stand-up show in Soho some time ago. Not long ago, say a year or so ago. And he was telling jokes in his Middlesbrough voice. And the way he would refer to the local Chinese restaurant as the Chinky and all this kind of stuff.
As we all did.
And
it was not racist.
No,
exactly.
And they pulled him aside afterwards. They said, "You were very funny. But we can't use you." So he said, well, why not? And they said, well, because you can't say things like chinky anymore. Can you say chunky?
Yeah, right.
I mean, you know, and
slightly loses the impact,
and that's what's killing it. It's this.
I like
this,
Andrew Lawrence.
Andrew.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, he's Andrew.
The guy does PC.
Yeah.
I like Andrew Lawrence, and I like the fact that he
doesn't care, does he?
pisses off so many people.
Yeah.
Because I think, in a way,
he was cancelled in a major
Yeah, he
way.
was. Yeah. I mean,
You've got to piss people off.
Yeah,
I think you have to.
You've got to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's part of just energising the whole debate.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what Ricky Gervais says, which is, I support your right to be offended.
Yeah.
You're offended, so what?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
were you guys political in the 70s and 80s?
I
Richard
was going to join the Liberal Party back in the day.
Yeah, well, the Liberal Party was quite far right compared to anything we've got now.
It was. Yeah.
Aren't we all far right now? I mean,
We are.
Yes.
But I think we are by definition.
Yes, if you're not left to far right,
You're far right.
there's nothing else, is there?
No.
You know.
Well, with some people on the left, it's almost come round.
Well, the far left, the far right.
Oh,
Well,
my goodness, yeah.
What's interesting, we get called far right, and we've actually met the real far right. We were held at gunpoint in Russia and
You don't want to meet
Lithuania. We've been attacked, and
Yeah.
we've seen them up close and personal in Poland. The far right isn't here.
No.
We've seen them. They're very, very unpleasant people,
Yeah.
like the far left. They're
Yeah.
equally as unpleasant as each
Absolutely
other.
right.
And
yeah.
when people say, some people, I see them always referring to the far right. My thing is, you've never met them.
No.
When we have,
It's like when people say Trump's a Nazi. They
Yeah.
don't know what they're talking
no,
about.
there's just these
They don't know what a Nazi is.
ridiculous
Yeah.
expressions about everyone's. If you don't agree with me, you're a racist, or you're a nonce, or you're far right. There's all these umbrellas. Do you know what I
Imagine
mean?
being all those things.
You know,
It's actually quite lazy because they can't be bothered to think what it is that you're trying to say.
No, they
No.
just call you.
So they just want to categorize
Slurs.
you and
Yeah.
then cancel you.
Yes, they do.
It's a hop and
Exactly.
a skip to canceling you is what it
It
is.
is, absolutely.
It is, you're absolutely right.
And
Yeah.
the thing for me that's been amazing in the last, since the whole COVID thing, is how the most obvious things have become things you can't say. So, I mean, I don't know whether you saw that recently with Josh Hawley talking to Dr. Verma. Did you see this? She's a doctor,
Yeah.
and he's saying the simple question, can men get pregnant? She won't answer it.
No.
Repeatedly for 20 minutes.
That's pathetic.
It's pathetic.
It is pathetic.
It is. It's absolutely strange. And her brain is so soaked in this kind of quasi-ideological woke nonsense that she cannot even speak to the truth
and
right in
she's
front
a
of her.
flipping doctor.
And she's a doctor.
Mm.
I mean,
So when were you Liberal? In the 80s?
in the 80s.
With David Steele was head of the party.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
Didn't
remember.
you join Labour, didn't you?
Huh?
Didn't you, under Blair, you joined Labour?
No, I voted.
Oh, you voted Labour.
I
We
voted-
all believed Blair to
Oh,
start
he was-
with, didn't
don't
we?
talk to
I
me.
never voted for him, I can say.
Yes,
I
so
did
did I.
vote for Major, which is equally bad.
It's pretty bad.
I always think voting for Blair is like going with an infected prostitute.
Yeah.
You regret it over the long term.
Yeah. And
At
we are
the time,
regretting it.
felt-
We're regretting
At the
it
time,
like hell.
it felt
Yes.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a 2-minute pleasure.
Exactly.
That long? Okay.
I just gave the
Show
game
off.
away.
Yeah, you did.
Does that include dinner?
Shut up.
Yeah,
Dinner.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cocktails, yeah.
Talking about politics, I remember when I went talking about the Liberal Party, I thought, well, their colour is yellow, right? So why don't we print all the handouts on yellow paper? Just seems like
Was that your idea?
That was my, but it was
Yeah.
white, the paper.
Right, okay.
So I just thought, from a promotional point of view,
Yeah.
You've
Subliminal marketing.
you just subliminally a bit of
Yeah.
yellow paper coming through your door with a Liberal. I mean, it's obvious. You had no idea the hoops you would have had to go through with the local party to make that happen. So I just gave up, and in the end, I had all these leaflets at home in the hall.
I don't remember this,
Don't
did you?
remember. Piles of them, and suddenly, knock on the door. The local Liberal. Have you got all those leaflets? It's like, oh my God's sake! So that was the extent of my political career. But I really.
And so when did that end? When did your leaflets end your career?
After, you remember when they stormed the embassy?
The Iranian embassy.
Yes, do you remember that?
Yeah, that was 79.
Yes, it was. It was about 3 or 4 years after that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Early
yeah.
80s.
Early 80s. Yeah.
And did you ever support Thatcher? Did you vote for Thatcher?
I liked her. I liked the fact that she knew what she was. But there are things that she did that I don't think were good for this country in the longer term.
Yeah. I mean, there are things we're still reeling from.
Yes.
You know, she had to break things to fix things, but she never went back full circle to fix what she
them.
broke.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're with me.
Yes, I am.
What I liked about her was the fact. I didn't like her at the time at all. But what I liked was I knew who she was.
Oh, we knew who she was.
Yes.
So that there was no doubt.
That there was no doubt.
Yeah, she wasn't this sort of shape-shifting weirdo like Starmer or Blair or whatever.
In fact, none of them were really.
No, they were pretty stand-up people.
Yeah.
And so when you voted for, when Michael Foot was on TV or Peter Shaw or Ben, you kind of knew what they're about because they were very upfront who they were.
Yeah.
That's all changed. Now it's sort of, there's a lot of deception and...
it's extraordinary, Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to say this. I used to look at Michael Foot as a young boy, as a lad, and I just think, you're a complete lunatic.
Yes.
Look at your hair, look at the way you conduct.
I know.
And now I look back and I think, actually, he was probably a good man.
Yes,
I may have disagreed with him.
Yeah.
But he was probably a good man.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they're not good men anymore.
No,
they're not good men and women.
But that was one of the things about Peter Shaw that I liked. He was, and the other thing I was going to say to you was how weird it is that the left, Peter Shaw was on the left of the Labour Party, but he was deeply patriotic. That's not possible now.
No.
It's not possible for a left-wing politician to be patriotic.
Absolutely. And that was the preserve of Labour.
It was.
It wanted state aid. It wanted the ability to control the destiny of the country. And now they've forgotten what the country is.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know what a woman is.
They don't know what a woman is.
No.
They're all at sea on every issue.
That's very disappointing for those of us who enjoy their 2 minutes of pleasure.
Exactly. No, it's really sad actually and also when I was a kid, politicians and people like Dennis Healey or whoever it was, I remember looking at people on the TV, and whether I disagreed with them or not, they were thoughtful people. Peter Shaw was a thoughtful man.
Yeah.
Dennis Healey was a thoughtful man.
Absolutely.
Statesman. Absolutely. And now
Yeah.
Rachel Reeves and Jess Phillips. And
this is one of the big problems in politics, isn't it? It's the quality of the individual that's going into it.
Yeah.
It's not just the ideology and the philosophy that they hold, which is so false and broken, but they're just not decent, capable people.
No, they're not.
No, I agree.
And that's, you're looking back during the COVID thing, look at what some of the statements from Jeremy Hunt.
I know.
Michael Gove.
Extraordinary
Savage
stuff
Javid.
coming out of
these
them.
Nadeem
Zahawi. Just randomly pick one individual.
Yes, exactly.
Really.
Also, the thing what staggered me was, as we alluded to earlier, was the speed with which much of the entire country forgot some basic principles of think for yourself. Don't automatically believe what the television tells you. Don't automatically believe what the papers tell you. But I remember going out in Windsor, where we live, and it was absolutely teeming with rain back in the day. I don't know, it was about a year into COVID, and there were people queuing in the street, all 3 feet apart, or whatever it was.
It's just like, get a grip. Get a grip.
As not going into the shop, just standing in the rain, because...
It was 2 meters, was it? 2 meters.
2 meters, 2 meters. And then Fauci admits, they made it up.
He made up, yeah.
I remember going for a run during lockdown, and they used to, I don't know if you remember this, they used to have arrows on the pavement.
Yes.
So, how daft is that? There was no evidence at all that COVID could be transmitted, but you had to go up one side of the...
I know.
Yeah.
We were walking down by the river in Windsor, and it was a early morning, and coming towards us was this lady doing jogging.
With a mask.
And she was huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing.
She couldn't breathe, Paul.
And she shouted to us, get out of the way, get out of the way, like we were the problem.
Yeah.
She was the one spitting everywhere.
Yeah.
It was just extraordinary.
When they taped off all the benches and everything, we went round with scissors.
Yeah, we ran.
I'm not having that. I'm cutting all that off.
Good for you.
Yeah, it was
good for you. Probably be arrested now when this is
you would, yeah.
And also,
carrying a dangerous item or weapon.
Also, if there's an arrow saying that way, I go the other way.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. I think I love you guys.
And the other thing that gets me, the feet impressions at ATMs. What is that?
Yes.
I know how to stand at an ATM.
Yeah.
I know. I don't wobble on one foot.
This is the nanny state gone mad.
I'd love to have some stickers, and you put the feet round the other way and film it. Because somebody will go there and stand the wrong way around and think, how do I do that?
One of the funniest things I've seen, I'm sure you've seen it too, and perhaps you've clocked it when you've seen it. But on the treads on steps at mainline stations, it says things like, hold the handrail.
Oh, yeah.
As you go up. And then it says that when you're halfway up, take the lift. And I think, no, I'm halfway up the flipping staircase.
I didn't see that. Does it say that?
It says take the lift.
Halfway
It's got
up.
all sorts of advisories about what you should be doing, which are completely counterintuitive or nonsense.
Yeah.
Not counterintuitive, nonsense, because you're halfway up the staircase.
Already.
I'm not going to go back down and take the lift.
Exactly.
But this is that controlling attitude.
It is, yeah.
So lockdown's kicked off.
Yes.
The virus emerged.
It did.
And we were first told that all you have to do is sing Happy Birthday, wash your hands.
And bang pots out the door. And all
and I thought, well, okay, well, fine. And at what point did you guys get triggered? At what point did you think, right, this has gone too far?
We went to lockdown. We went to the airport, didn't we?
Yeah, we
went to Heathrow.
Yeah, we had the minute March 23rd, I think it was 2020.
Yeah, it was the first beginning.
Yeah. And we were in a restaurant having a drink, and they were closing up. And then we got home, and I was thinking about this, and we live in Berkshire, so you were on a flight path. And so, go to bed, wake up, and there's these planes coming in and out. And I'm thinking, what sort of lockdown is this? What is this? Yeah. So we thought, right.
We got in the car.
Drove up to Terminal 5 to Arrivals.
The Arrivals board, you never seen anything like it. Was
Beijing,
honestly.
Seoul, all these people
all flying in.
All flying in. And I'm going, nah, I'm not buying this. This is bollocks. Yeah. And at that point, I just thought, I'm not taking any notice. I won't wear a mask. Yeah. I won't stand 2 meters apart. And I'll come and go as I please in my own house.
The local restaurant.
That was our position.
The local pizza place restaurant where we eat quite often were really kind, actually. So during the lockdown, we would go into the restaurant and hide behind a pile of pizza boxes and have our meal as usual.
There was this whole counter culture that suddenly grew up.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So, and I suddenly got joint WhatsApp groups, and all these different people in different restaurants and bars were putting curtains down and blacking out the windows and just getting on with it. And then you couldn't have more than group of 6, was it?
I think it was a group of 6,
And then the whole thing, terms like tier.
The
bubble.
Tier. When you were driving through the country and you're in tier 1 section of the tier, do you remember that?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolute nonsense.
And that you could go to the pub. At one point, you could go to the pub, but you all had to leave at 10.
Yes.
So consequently, the tubes were stuffed full of people.
Infecting each other. Supposedly.
And you could drink, you could take your mask off when you sat down, but if you got up
you had to
go to the toilet or go to the bar, you got to put it back on again. So the virus stops here. Bounces around there.
So what do you think possessed our political class to do this?
Control. I think it was an IQ test.
Yeah.
A gullibility test to see how
far they could push it.
How far they could push people, because there's no common sense to it.
No.
And to quote Judge Judy, if something doesn't make sense, then
it's probably
senseless.
Yeah.
And I'm not particularly a fan of hers, particularly, but I do believe in that.
Yeah.
If something doesn't make sense, there's a reason it
doesn't. Also,
and that didn't.
There were loads of other images coming out of people putting their mask on, and then the minute the politicians in front of the camera, they'd take the mask off. Yeah. And then you had Starmer and the champagne party with Johnson in the garden.
Yeah, the whole thing.
And Matt Hancock.
Gradually you began to think, oh, hold on a second.
And the minute Piers Morgan says something, I do the opposite.
Yeah.
That's just my... I'm wired.
You've got to be careful with that, because he pivots this way and that.
Well, that's true as well.
He does.
He changes with a fart.
I know. But it was. I was just staggered how quickly people
just took the knee to the authority.
And particularly with artists. I mean,
the music business.
Suddenly, all these people. Who you thought maybe would have a stop and think, and does this make sense? Were just great. They've embraced it. And I remember seeing, there's a band called James.
I don't know.
There's a band called James.
Sit Down was a great track.
They've got a really good track called Sit Down.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting at home looking online, and they're describing their rehearsals, and they're not to worry about coming to a show. We've been rehearsing in a bubble. And I just thought, you can't be serious.
Yeah.
You don't believe this crap, surely. And they did, hook, line, and sinker.
Well, do you remember the Pet Shop Boys, as it was insisted, people had to bring their own pens?
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't share a pen. I mean, it was just...
the level of insanity.
The level of mentalness, it was just...
And
so you obviously reacted to this.
Yes.
You railed at it privately. But what brought you into the public domain on it?
Well, that's care of Piers Morgan, the Daily Mail, and a few other people who lost their minds when they saw us at the lockdown protests.
We had two choices, really. We either shut up and said, no, you're right, we'll shut up.
Yeah.
Or we just say, no, to hell with you, we'll just keep saying what we think.
Yeah. And we didn't say anything much.
We didn't say much,
we just say people should have the choice of whether they get injected or not. They should have that bodily control. And the lockdowns make no sense. and maybe everybody should just be left alone to make their own decision. And when suddenly, you can, was it in Czechoslovakia? You get half an hour with your favourite prostitute if you get vaccinated.
No, you're kidding.
No, I think it was.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Half an hour?
Yeah.
That's the thing I was asking you about.
What do you do with the other 28 minutes?
I know, 28 minutes.
You sit there just awkwardly going...
Exactly.
Half an hour. Who needs half an hour? But they did. And then
it was
Time is money.
It was Uber rides. It was cake. It was buns. It was
donuts.
Donuts. Yeah, it was honestly. It was just
fries. I think in Canada you get free fries.
You get fries
or something like that. I just the whole thing. I was just waiting for. I mean, what we found, well, the great thing about it is we discovered artists that we weren't that familiar with. So Tom McDonald's, who's a rapper, 5 Times August, High Res the rapper, and a guy called Matt Hoy, different people. They started, Dave Mustaine, who's a heavy metal guitar player.
Yep.
They started saying, no, I'm not buying this. You know?
Yeah.
And did that change your view of your own overarching political philosophy? Or did you see this as a kind of one-off bizarre episode in British history?
Well, what I thought was, how can people... I think there was some sort of poll in 2019, and the poll became quite well known because it was to do with the public's trust in politicians, which apparently was at an all-time low, apparently, with Boris Johnson.
Surely it's gone lower now.
You would hope.
Absolutely. So what
So.
really surprised me is that all-time low, I think it was 2019, I think so. Suddenly, a year later, everyone's taken health advice from Boris Johnson.
I know.
Wouldn't you just stop and go...
A man who can't even brush his hair.
Yeah.
He brushes his hair, but with a balloon.
Yes. Yeah. But you would think, this is weird because that guy lied. Maybe he's lying again.
Yeah.
I'll stop and think about this, but people didn't.
And also, what I think...
I didn't get it then. I still don't. I never will.
No.
No, what happened with us, I think, was that the COVID thing made us rethink the importance of freedom of speech and the whole culture around personal sovereignty.
Yeah. And the way we're governed.
And the way we're governed,
It really shone a light. For me, it was a revelation that this country has absolutely lost its sense of freedom, self-determination, personal agencies we were talking about. We became a collective.
Yes.
The populace became not a set of individuals, but a kind of amoebic blob, which was being managed and directed by...
A bit like the Borg.
Yeah, a bit like the Borg.
In Star Trek.
Yeah, no thinking going on.
Exactly. No, I agree. And some fundamental principles that people... and when the churches closed down, I thought that was really interesting, when the churches shut their doors.
What was that about?
And then, but you go
churches,
back...
Even in the plague, never shut
No,
their
exactly.
doors.
It's just, and the weakness and the spinelessness of the Church of England at the time, many churches. And when you go back several hundred years, you've got people being burnt at the stake for what they believed.
Yeah.
And now the church is just shutting the door. And so
that was extraordinary.
It was extraordinary, particularly for elderly people for whom the church is particularly important, as a social interaction place. It was awful. There's a lady I used to know called Grace, who's sadly passed away. She died when she was 84. And for her, going to the bank was really important. Just going to the bank and talking to the teller. But now you can't do that. And she doesn't know how to work. She didn't know how to work the machines. So she now she used to have to take her carer. So all of this stuff, for me, is all about attacking. The target is always the same. It doesn't matter where the arrows are coming from. The target is always the same, which is individual liberty. That is the target.
It is a target.
All the time. Doesn't matter.
Constantly.
All the time. So, I saw a thing today from Bob Moran talking about, somebody said, the US has left WHO. And somebody had replied saying, whoopee, isn't this great? And then he replied saying, why is it great? Well, why it's great is because the bigger an organisation gets, the smaller we all get.
Absolutely. It wants to take power.
Yeah.
Of course it does.
It's like any organism, it wants to empower itself. And the only way it's going to get power is by taking it from us.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's a simple equation.
Yeah,
really simple.
Exactly.
Yeah. My thing with the EU, I mean, I voted to leave. I would have, if there'd been a third option where we could have some sort of economic trade relationship, great.
Like the EC, you mean?
Yeah, like the EC, but no political influence. I would have voted for that.
Yeah.
But it was stay or leave, so I voted leave. But I don't understand why anyone thinks...
we never got leave, of course.
No, it's never happened.
It's never happened.
I think Tony Blair is still pulling the string somewhere. You know, I don't think he's ever left office.
He's hiding in number 10
in
the attic. I think he's in the attic at number 10.
Yes, exactly. You hear him padding around at night.
You can hear him padding around at night.
Well, he's definitely got influence because, Trump has just put him on on that committee for Gaza.
I mean, as if the Gazan people haven't had enough.
Tony Blair single-handedly destroyed the Middle East.
Yes, I know.
Give him any further ability to interfere.
There's got to be conversations, obviously, where people, certainly us, aren't privy to. And these conversations have to involve, there must be this small group of people. I mean, I find it...
What do you think of the World Economic Forum?
I think the World Economic Forum do not have our best interests at heart. Again, they have their interests at heart.
Exactly.
And I think what's interesting, I think it sums it up, doesn't it? At Davos, the hookers can put their prices up to £2,500. And
we're back to hookers again.
Yes,
per minute.
Yes, it's £5,000.
It's £5,000 for me.
Based on minutes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I just think I think it kind of sums the whole thing up. It's just they're either fucking us or they're fucking a hooker. I mean, do you know what I mean?
When I talk about the World Economic Forum, I'm always a bit concerned that people might think, you're up some kind of conspiracy theory. You're a conspiracy theory nutcase. But of course, if you put the most powerful people in the world in a private room with the richest people in the world, and they're having a discussion and there are no minutes, no one knows what the agenda is, weird stuff is going to happen.
This is Bilderberg, isn't it? As well.
Yeah, Bilderberg, Davos, Club of Rome, and all these different institutions.
We did a gig in Denmark or somewhere.
Oh, we demonstrated.
Outside the Bilderberg building,
outside Bilderberg in Copenhagen.
That's right.
And that was interesting because we had a couple of people come up saying, "Well, what are you doing here?" And one of the guys was a journalist, and he said, "I've been in there," and he said there are rooms you're not allowed in. He said, we can't get in. And he said, outside of those rooms, everything's really bland and boring. So he said, something interesting must be going on because this is nothing.
Yeah, and all the security men were talking into little microphones.
Yeah,
and it was all barricaded off.
The whole thing's barricaded. There were just black limos for days and, it didn't look very friendly, I've got to say.
No. And also, as you say, the trouble is when it's... See, I think everybody in public positions should be accountable. And that applies to people like Fink. It should apply to everybody. I don't care whether they're just elected or not. If they have control, any kind of control over somebody else's life, they need to be accountable. So so politicians particularly, Prince Charles, King Charles, whatever he is now, I don't think it really matters. I mean, he doesn't really count. But I think everybody else, if they're a head of a big corporation or they're elected.
I mean, heads of big corporations traditionally didn't have the kind of influence that they now have on the political stage.
No, that's true.
I think you mentioned earlier on that big corporates have now infected politics, haven't they?
They have completely.
Yeah.
And it's through institutions like the World Economic Forum and, of course, the UN. The UN is very hijacked by,
stakeholders.
Well, if you've got a lot of money, you can buy time with political leaders. That's how Elon Musk or Fink or
you sit at a table for 10 grand or whatever.
They walk into number 10. Well, we can't.
No.
And if we had billions of dollars, we could.
Yeah.
It's just...
So when you see
we're back to hookers again, huh?
When you see Starmer walking down the corridor with Fink or whoever it is, it's like, really? Really?
Yeah. You're meant to be left-wing, buddy.
Yes.
I mean, Larry Fink embodies...
I mean, it's like baller, exactly. So when I was younger, I was quite Tory, I think. I was quite centre-right. And now I'm much more centre-left than I used to be.
Yeah, we get called...
Okay, that's interesting to me. When you say left, do you mean economically left?
Economically and socially, yes.
Okay, but what about... Because in my mind, the left, this is not the traditional left, but the left as it is now.
Oh God,
is anti-freedom.
Yes, they are.
Oh, no, that's not me.
Yeah.
No.
So
I'm an old left.
You might find that you're on the right.
Yes. Well,
You might be right.
Yeah, I think the old
I
left.
can't keep up. I'm on the
I mean, do you love this country?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do you
absolutely.
believe in democracy?
Yes.
Yes,
Do you believe in British culture and our history and
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid you're a fascist.
Bad news.
Oh, bad news.
Bad news.
I must work on that moustache.
Yeah, and just in case you're not aware, you're also racist, homophobic,
right.
whatever your
Right.
disposition is, misogynistic.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're all
It's
of
quite
these
a list.
things. It's quite a list.
Can I add that to my CV?
It comes with the territory. You can't just pick and choose. You get the lot.
No, exactly.
Am I also a wife beater? 'Cause I need to know. I need a whole list of what I am, just so I've got a handle on it. You know. But that's what you're told these days.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
it
you
is.
say something,
Yeah.
you're this or you're that, and
Yeah.
we were cancelled for being transphobic. And
Is that what really did you?
no.
No.
That was just one of the other things they added
Yeah.
on, and it was because I liked. I think it may have been a J.K. Rowling tweet or some tweet. I can't remember now, but I liked it. And I thought it made a good point. And then we got cancelled. Our publisher, when we had our autobiography in 2023, I think it was, our publisher cancelled us. So they published the book and then they cancelled us. It was extraordinary. So then we had to buy our book in order to sell it because HMV...
Smiths were okay, actually.
Smiths were okay, but HMV,
Amazingly.
Waterstones, Sister Ray, who's the other lot? Rough Trade, they all cancelled us.
Amazing. It's
And it
amazing.
was
Which year was this?
23.
23. Oh, wow, recent.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Yeah. So what was weird is that we were cancelled based on nothing apart from just someone making a complaint. One
Also,
person.
the weird thing is, I had a very short affair with a guy that transitioned.
So have I.
So it's Fred.
Yeah.
So it's not, I mean, and I remember with I won't say his name, her name, but I was sitting in a restaurant with him, he's going back many years, and I'm so clueless. I was just looking at him thinking, there's a little voice in your head as you're talking.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, he's got beautiful hair. Look at his hair. It's fantastic, like a Timotei advert. And then I realized he was on the steroids. And then sometime later, he went through the whole thing and is now married. But it never crossed. What I don't like about the trans movement is the way they've taken a very personal struggle, which a lot of people have, and I believe in body dysmorphia. I think that's a real thing, but they've turned it into a sort of circus, and it's taken away the real pain that some people are going through.
Yeah. I mean,
with this
it's actually
transition.
a mental health issue.
Well,
isn't it?
it is and it isn't. I think it's some people. I mean, Peru, I think, have decided it's a mental.
Right.
I think so. I don't know. I'm on the fence on that. I think some people are genuinely. They look at themselves and they think, I don't understand this body that I'm in. I don't recognize it.
I don't.
It
I
doesn't.
need to build up.
But you know what I mean. So I would hesitate to call that a mental illness. I think that's just a way that some people respond to what they see.
Right.
But I think the real the number of people who are really confronted with this issue is tiny. But I think there are lots of people on the periphery
On
of
the
this
political bandwagon.
who are using it as a way of just either getting access to get ladies' changing rooms or to win at swimming or whatever it happens to be. I think they're using it. And that if I'd been transitioning back in the day, that would have really irritated me. In the same way that Fred's wife, she can't stand some of these trans people. She said if they had menopause.
My wife is going through menopause.
If they had menopause like I'm having, they wouldn't want to be a woman. All they want to do is pick handbags and dresses. That's all they want to do.
She gets very upset.
She gets really
because her
angry.
menopause is brutal.
And
so she's not totally impressed.
No.
Yeah.
So I think all these issues are much more nuanced than we are led to believe.
Yeah.
I think.
But so I'm really intrigued if we can go back to your comment that you're centre left.
Yes.
I'm intrigued by
I
that.
don't believe that.
No,
You're wrong.
how would you describe yourself, Fred? Would you say you're centre left as well?
No, I think I'm.
You're far right, aren't you?
Well, we're all far right.
We're all far right.
That's a given.
This is how do you self-identify?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think.
Well,
let me think. I agree with free speech.
Yeah.
I think you should have no fear of having your flag, raising your flag outside your house or your.
Exactly.
I don't really agree with it being on lampposts because that's a public space. So I don't think when people lose their mind saying someone's taken down a Union Jack from a lamppost, well, that's actually a public space. So unless you own the lamppost, you could then say, do you know what I mean? I mean, it's a moot point, but I'm just making the point. Anyway, but I've got when we perform, there's a shirt I've got, which is a Union Jack shirt. Sort of, it's fairly subtle, but it's a Union Jack shirt. And I've had people say, "Oh, you're very brave wearing that." Really?
Yeah, I know, it's extraordinary.
Yeah,
it is.
Why? I don't think brave is a word you should use. I'm just wearing a shirt that looks a bit like a flag.
I think it's becoming more normalised. Do you feel less glared at now when you wear it? I think people have come to terms with, I wear this little Union flag, lapel thing. And when I first put it on, which was 2 or 3 years ago, I remember going into Pret to get my coffee and everyone looking at me like, you kind of weirdo, you've got a Union flag. But nowadays, no one does. Maybe they just got used to me in Pret.
I think, I lived in Barcelona for 11 years, from 11 to 22. And what I've noticed about in Catalan, that flags are a big part of their culture.
Because they want to break away from Spain.
Yeah, they did. So they had the Catalan flag, they had the Spanish flag, and you see kids going out at night with the flag tied around their throat, almost like you'd wear a shawl or something.
Yeah,
I got really used to it, and hanging from windows and balconies on cars, and didn't think about it. And then when I moved back here, I realised it was an issue. I was thinking, this is mental.
Well, is it the case that the BNP just hijacked it back in the day? They hijacked the image of the flag.
I know it's going back,
but going back 50 years.
I know it is, but that's the press. I mean, we were talking about with Floss about Tommy Robinson, and one of the things I think about Tommy Robinson, I've never met him, and I have no idea what he's actually like face to face. Although Jordan Peterson was very flattering about him. But I think I think Nigel Farage is making this mistake. He's allowing the press and the mainstream media to define Tommy Robinson for him.
But Nigel Farage is completely part of the cancel culture thing.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, sorry. Yeah. No, so I think I don't like it when my problem with the whole Robinson thing is I think his image is being determined by people who hate him, not by people who spend the time to get to know him and to understand him. That's my problem.
Yeah.
I've watched him speak. I think we were talking about it in the car, actually. I think, maybe his thing is, if I need to speak like this because that's what gets the people, my posse, if you like, the people who support me. I can't start sounding too posh. I can't start sounding too coherent. I can't have media training because that makes me a bit like them. So I need to be a bit more street level and authentic. Yeah, that might be his shtick. I've never met him, but I do think his image is being determined for Nigel Farage particularly, who won't even discuss him, is being defined by the people that have already made their mind up about him.
But this is what I mean about cancel culture, because even those people, I mean, Farage, if you were to ask him, where do you stand on cancel culture, would you stop someone from having a public position?
Yeah.
Simply based on the fact that they've got particular views?
Yes.
His answer, his knee-jerk would be answer, of course not, that's perfectly valid.
Right.
But then he falls into the trap of giving into the mainstream. And the mainstream is all about cancel culture.
It is, yeah.
It's all, we've talked about how sense of humor is not allowed anymore, how you've got to conform, you've got to go down these lines, you can't question lockdown.
Yeah.
All of that goes hand in hand with cancel culture.
Yeah.
And no matter what your view of Tommy Robinson or other people or J.K. Rowling you mentioned, however repugnant you might find her view on transgender issues, she's entitled to have those views.
She is.
That's
absolutely
exactly right.
And she must have. In fact, I mean, the correct thing in my mind. Sorry, I shouldn't be talking. It's me interviewing. But I can't help it. We're all prone to this. If you really want to reveal the idiocy in someone's views, you don't shut them up. You give them as much airtime as possible.
Let them hang themselves.
Let them hang themselves.
Well, it's the old art of war. When you see your enemy making a mistake, don't stop them.
Let them go.
Let them go.
So why control it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. But I think I mentioned earlier a guy called David Roach, who's the CEO of Action on World Health. And I said to David before we were due to come here, I said to David, what one question would you like me to ask Ben? What's the one question you would ask him if you were here? And what he said was, ask him how he would unite the right.
Okay, so
that's what he wants to know.
That's a very big question.
I know it is.
Huge,
and this is meant to be me interviewing you.
I know I shouldn't. Sorry.
So one of the reasons I was intrigued by you saying you're centre-left is I think the old left-right is gone.
So do I.
Yes.
I don't think it exists. I think there are those of us who believe, and I think we're all three of us completely firmly in this category. Freedom of speech, democracy, nation state, British culture, our language, our prosperity, personal agency, aspiration, wealth creation, all of these things which unite us. And the debate is not between left and right. It's between people who believe in democracy, freedom of speech, all those things, and people who would rather be governed by supranational institutions, effectively anti-democratic organizations like the EU, like the WHO, the influence that the World Economic Forum has. This global order versus what has now become a pejorative term, but shouldn't be, the nationalist view of life. And the old left were very nationalist.
They were.
Very nationalist.
I identify that. That's why I identify with it more.
Absolutely.
That's gone.
And the white working classes of the United Kingdom, who are traditional Labour voters, are actually fiercely patriotic.
Yeah. Well, that's Alf Garnett, isn't it? It's that sort of character, you know. I agree with you. I mean...
And so there's no left and right.
No, I know what you're saying. I mean, when
I agree with you.
And the reason I think it's important to define that is because if I don't define that first, then all of a sudden, if I say, fine, there's left and right, and I accept that, then all of a sudden I have to defend challenging the Tories. But actually the Tories are not, in my mind, of my political disposition.
No.
They're very happy with the EU, or large numbers of them are.
Yeah,
They're very happy with going to the World Economic Forum. They're very happy with WHO membership.
Yes.
Etc. So they're not my political philosophy. And then you come to, well, what about reform then? And reform carries the torch of hope, I think, of the, if I may put it this way, the sort of the working classes of the United Kingdom who are fiercely patriotic. But reform is not practicing that. You know, it's taken on Nadeem Zahawi, who was pro-vaccine mandate, pro-lockdown, pro-net zero. I think he just about voted to leave the EU, but in all other respects, he's the opposite.
Right.
And the same with Jenrick. It's the same with Jake Berry, if you know who I mean. So reform has become a complete... It's got enmeshed completely into the establishment, and the establishment is anti-British.
Do you think it's possible to get into number 10 without the establishment?
Sorry?
Do you think it's possible to get into number 10 without the establishment?
I think we have to get into number 10 without the establishment. Like you launched your record without a label. We have to have that attitude, because if we try and use the establishment to get into the establishment, we will not be able... I think this country is facing its end.
Right.
So do I.
I think we are going to end as a country, I think Western civilization is being threatened.
Yes.
And unless we wake up and we take a very, very clear path towards the restoration of who we are as a people, as a culture, as a nation, unless we take a very clear path to that, we're going to find ourselves sacrificed on the altar of mainstream ideologies, which are all anti-British, basically.
Yeah,
and Farage is making the mistake. This has become but he's he's cunning as hell. He's like a fox.
Yeah.
But what we need is lions.
Right.
And I think the British people want lions.
I think they want straight talking. I really do. And I think I was really, what's the word, disappointed when I saw the Winston Marshall interview with Farage on the question of Islam. His response was very shoulder-shruggy, very what can we do? We'll lose if we don't.
Well, he actually said by 2050, this country is going to be very significantly Muslim.
And we will lose.
And we will lose.
And the question should have been, what Winston Marshall should have asked him at that point, it was, what will we lose? That's the question. What are we going to lose?
Yeah.
But he didn't ask it.
No.
And that would have put Nigel Farage right on the spot.
But the interesting thing is, if you don't mind me speaking yet again, is that in saying what he said, he revealed that actually it's more important to him to get into power than it is to do what's right by the country.
Well, we've talked about this, haven't we?
And that right now we can't afford that kind of politics. There was a time that perhaps this country could tolerate wishy-washy politicians who did this and that because our economy was assured, our existence was assured, but we're not there right now.
No, we're not. I agree. We
have to find our way back. And I find, this is coming back to your centre-left, I'm really intrigued by the centre-left thing.
I'll tell you why now.
And I believe, and the only reason I'm in politics, the only reason ultimately I'm in politics is for the working and middle classes of the United Kingdom. Because if you want to be a politician in a democracy, you have to stand up for the majority interest. And the majority of the people in this country are working in middle classes. If you're standing up for any other interest, you shouldn't be in politics.
Right, okay.
Not in a democracy anyway.
Okay.
Okay, now I'll shut up.
No, okay. Well, the reason I say centre-left is because there are social aspects to it that I think are being forgotten. I think the welfare state is a really important aspect that needs understanding and promoting and reaffirming, if you like. I think we have to understand that there are some equal rights issues that need defending. I think there's a whole lot of mainly social issues. I have to admit that I feel really strongly about, and I feel really not every. We've invented this capitalist game. That's what we've done.
Yeah.
And there are lots of people who can't play it. Lots of people who don't know how to make a lot of money, who don't know how to, to run their own business, and the state, in some fashion, needs to understand that those people need support.
Yeah. So
that's what I mean.
I
really
completely agree with you. And it's also interesting to me that you were once a liberal.
Yes.
Because I think the case you've just made, if you don't mind me saying this, is you've made the case for liberal democracies. The traditional old-fashioned liberal democracy in which the majority interest was important, remained important. But liberalism, as it was practiced, not now, but before, protected the individual, had an understanding that individuals do need a helping hand from time to time. Yeah. And if you're gay, for example, that you should be allowed to be gay without being persecuted for it. Yeah. And that form of liberal democracy, which we roll off our tongues as if it's completely second nature, that worked quite well for this country. And we had good diversity of debate. Yeah. And we had liberals in the Liberal Party fighting the case for that. And we had the Tories fighting the case for... I mean, actually, Maggie... funny enough, I think Maggie did a lot for the working middle classes. She did a lot that was damaging to the mining industry, the north of England.
Very much so.
And she didn't really have a joined-up plan for what she did afterwards.
No.
But she wanted to give the working middle classes the ability to improve their lot. That was definitely at the heart of her thing. But liberal... Sorry, I'm going to say...
No, go on.
Yeah, so I think what's gone wrong is liberalism now it's on steroids. So, if you identify as a transgender or you're from an ethnic minority or you've got a minority religious belief like Islam, liberalism is basically saying if you're part of that minority, you must be protected at all costs. You must be allowed to practice your ideology and your belief system, and we must protect and promote and celebrate your culture, and we must set back the majority interest. Democracy is now losing to uber-liberalism.
Right.
And it's not in balance.
No, it's not. That's true.
No, that is true. I think that's absolutely true.
We need to get back to a balanced position where the state can be sensitive to the needs of the individual who needs help.
Okay.
But understanding that the majority interest must also be catered for.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, sorry. I was just, while you were saying that, I was just thinking, I don't know if you saw Patrick Christie the other day, when he was saying whether he believes that Starmer is actually an asset for say, China in particular.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know whether that's true or not, but what I thought about it is that what's interesting is that the question is even asked. So therefore, I then, if you go take that a little bit further on, you have to start thinking, are the people who are now governing this nation and governing us do they actually like us?
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they don't.
No, I don't think they respect, as you say, the history or the traditions or the culture.
It was Kissinger that called us, not us, but referred to as the public as livestock.
Livestock, right.
That is not a good way to describe your power base.
No, I think you have to. No, when I saw Peter Short, some old footage of him at the Oxford Union back in the day talking about the EEC and railing against the EEC and thinking, we are in great danger.
He saw it very, very early on.
He did.
Yeah.
He understood it really, really clearly. And his wife said that of all the people in Parliament at the time, she thinks he was the only one who read the Treaty of Rome page to page. She said it was all the pages were laid out on the floor in their flat. She said you couldn't even see the carpet. There were just pages everywhere. And he was very, very, very impressive, I thought. He was, somebody laughed. He said something about the nation and pride of the nation or something. And somebody laughed, one of the students laughed. And he said, if you think that's funny, something terrible has happened in the UK.
Yes.
If you think that's funny. And he was right back then. He was right.
But now we have, I remember watching Angela Rayner, and she was talking, actually being interviewed, and she was talking about, I think, businesses who wanted to invest in the UK. And the interviewer said, which businesses?
Yeah.
She couldn't say.
No.
She couldn't say.
Yeah.
And you'd think...
They've made it a hostile environment for business.
Yeah.
You'd actually think that her brief, somebody would say, you might want to know
Yeah.
the businesses that are or aren't coming.
Yeah.
And clearly she didn't read the brief. She doesn't care. I don't know what it is. She just wants to style it out.
They don't care.
Know. They don't
I mean,
care,
again,
no.
I can't remember whether we did this before we came on air, before we started recording, or during the conversation. But you described how the cost of something had gone up and how it impeded economic activity.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. We're talking about bands, actually, at the time, weren't we? Live.
Yes, of course. You had a brilliant idea of
just take
removing...
the VAT.
Yeah, and that would have energized pubs.
Yeah.
And I read an article this morning on pubs, which was an eye-opener for me. Pubs apparently get their Sky TV and, online entertainment systems charged to them at a rate that's proportional to their business rates. So if you're Sky TV, you look at the business rates that a particular premises is paying,
Right.
and you charge the Sky TV membership is proportional to that.
So that.
And business rates are just all going up.
Yeah.
So pubs are going to have to cancel their...
Yeah.
And so they can't show the football.
Right,
No, that's right.
And this is how tax damages.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
And less people will therefore go to the pub.
Yeah,
They're already under pressure because of minimum wages going up.
Exactly.
Employers' national insurance going up.
Yeah.
Business rates going up.
Yeah.
A tax on alcohol going up.
Yeah.
The price of goods going up.
Yeah.
All of this is hitting them.
Yes.
And now they've have to cancel their Sky subscription.
Exactly. I know. Well, I remember talking to a publican during the lockdown thing.
Yeah.
And he had a really big pub out of town, down towards Guildford. And he had 2 floors, so the ground floor and the first floor. And I said, and it was packed. And I said, what's happening upstairs? He said, it's nothing, it's empty. So I said, well, why don't you extend the pub up there and have a restaurant? I said, it's not worth it. Because if I do that, my take goes up, the VAT goes up.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong bracket.
Yeah. So that's where, that would have been another 4 or 5 people being employed. That would have been a chef. That would have been, and he can't afford to do it. It's mad.
So just going back to your question, how do you unite the right?
Yes.
We have to unite people together who really love this country. That's the aim. And it isn't reform, because reform is infecting itself with the establishment. It's not the Tories, because the Tories are the Tories.
Yeah.
So it has to be a new political force. And it's got to be a political force, I think. And I love the way you said it, if you don't mind me saying so, Richard, that it's got to be gentle. That's what you mean by looking the welfare and the care of people who are going through trouble. It's got to be gentle. If we want to put this country right, it can't be done through brute force, because in the pursuit of putting it right, being aggressive, we will set aside everything that was so lovely about the country.
Right. Okay, I understand.
And
so
there's a mountain of a task ahead of us.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be served by trying to get into bed with the Tories or get into bed with reform.
No.
Also, I don't agree with the phrase unite the right, because I don't believe there's a left to right anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's uniting anyone who
I'm just repeating David's question.
I know. Anyone who has a problem with the way the country is currently being run. Because Labour aren't this Starmer's Labour is not Labour.
No,
that's
not traditional Labour.
No, it's been hijacked for their own ideology and their own goals. So
what's your political journey now, gentlemen? You're here, you're triggered,
you're
capable, you've seen it all. You've got good life experience. You've made things in life. You've made yourselves.
Mine's really corny. I just think you come home from work, you get your month's pay.
Yeah.
If you're working hard, you've got your 2 kids or your 3 kids, or what, your partner, whatever. And you should feel you're fairly rewarded for your efforts. And the tax that is taken for your pay packet, you can see it being spent sensibly.
Wisely, yeah.
But you only need to drive on roads. You only need to sit and wait to try and get an appointment with a GP, or go to A&E, or park your car, and everything is a wait or it's expensive. And I think that's where people feel there's an unfairness in what's going on at the moment. Like we're saying, you want to drop off someone at the airport, it's £7.
Yeah.
What service are you receiving
for that
What
money.
service are you? Because it's not like you get someone coming, waving you in and a cup of coffee, sir. You don't get that. You just get
£7.
Yeah, £7. It'll be £10 in 2 years.
Yeah, it will.
And there's another thing. We've got a couple of companies to furnish sort of publishing and stuff. One's a limited company, and there's a thing I speak to our accountant, and he said we got to sign a confirmation letter or something, and it's to basically say the same directors of this company are the same as they were before, which is me and Richard. And he said, you won't believe it. He said that confirmation letter has gone from £7 to 50. So whereas it was £7 for admin, he said,
which is just
literally in the last 2 years, it's gone from £7 to £50.
Yeah.
Now, why? And it's okay, you might say, well, if you can't afford 50 quid, you should have a company. But that's not the point.
Not the point.
It's
No.
not the point.
No.
Yeah.
And I just think it's this constant, £4 or £5 for a coffee. You got to park your car. When we go to meet, we try and avoid London a lot of the time. But when we do come in, particularly if we've got a meeting in the West End, you have to set aside £100. You got your parking, ULEZ, and coffees.
Yeah.
It's massive.
And how are you meant to have? And people say, why don't you Zoom? Because you Zoom, you don't get the
It's not the
sense.
same, no.
If you're going to
No,
to get to bed with someone, business-wise, you don't want to do it on Zoom.
So we're back to 2 minutes.
I was just
We
about
are.
to say that.
Same thing. But
I was just about to say.
you need to be in a room with someone. If we
Yeah.
were going to talk to a management or a label or whoever, you want to sit in a room with them and see.
Yeah.
And the rapport we just had
Yes.
would not be possible on Zoom.
No, it
No,
wouldn't.
no, it's
Also,
not.
I think the other thing, you're right about this, if uniting the right in a way is
It's
some
the wrong
obsolete
expression.
question. But my thing, when I wake up in the morning, it would be really nice to wake up in a country where the people in charge are trying to do their very best for the country.
Couldn't agree more.
That's
Actually,
all
I
it
don't
is.
care whether they're left or
No,
right.
nor do I.
care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. I when I see Prince Charles rattling on about Islam, or when I see the stories about this, the Chinese embassy being done on the old, I mean, it's
Unbelievable.
and MI5 saying it's a bad idea, and the government's still going.
Unbelievable.
I'm thinking, why are these? What is
Because they're not here for us.
because
are
they're
they?
not here. They're not here for
No.
us.
So I agree with you. I think if you woke up and you thought, most of our friends aren't in music; they're in retail, hospitality, and stuff.
Yeah.
So we chat with them, and the hoops they have to jump through just to run a little restaurant or a bar or like Martin with his build. He's got a little building company, and it's.
He was actually very quickly. There's a friend of ours who's a painter and decorator, and his car broke down. His van. So he put all his paints and the ladders and stuff in his car for about 2 or 3 days while the van was getting fixed. He was stopped by the police and fined for not having a commercial insurance. As opposed to the copper thinking, the guy's just trying to make a living.
Yeah,
leave him alone.
leave him
alone.
alone.
Leave him alone.
Yeah.
And many years ago, before COVID, actually, Stuart and I had split up by this point, and I was going to visit him, and on the pavement was a motor scooter parked, right? And I mean, you could tell by the motor scooter, by the condition of it, that whoever owned the motor scooter had no money. The seat was torn. It was just a rubbishy looking. And there was a parking guy putting a ticket on it because it was on the pavement. And I said to the guy, "Why are you doing that? Look at it. You can tell this guy
Give the guy a
has
break.
no money. So why are you putting a £60 parking fine on it?"
Yeah.
He just didn't care. Didn't care.
No.
And it's that lack of empathy.
Yeah, people have stopped thinking.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
Also, I think there's a huge manners problem. I noticed we're driving in today, you flash someone to let them go. Nobody says thank you anymore.
No.
Just simple thank yous. Like if I hold a door open for someone, they walk straight through. I'm not the fucking doorman. Hello, human being here.
I know.
It does my head in.
It does my head in.
Basic
Yeah.
manners. Thanks, please. Excuse me. Would you mind?
Yeah.
Simple stuff.
Dave Allen was very funny
I
about
think that really dehumanizes people.
Yeah.
That lack of courtesy.
that
I really
rudeness has
do.
been going on forever.
Yeah, it has.
Dave
I
Allen
agree.
back,
I agree.
Dave Allen back in the day, he would say he was saying, I flashed somebody to let them through, and they didn't say thank you. Well, I'm not letting them through again.
That's the last time. Yeah.
That's the last time I'm doing that for them.
That's brilliant.
But it's that kind of rudeness to be going on. But I think it's I hate to say parenting and all that stuff and schooling, but
I think you're right.
I think there's an element of it.
Of course there is. And the state is increasingly set aside families.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
parenting is now at the hands of the state.
Yeah.
You hand your child over to childcare when they're 9 months old.
Yeah.
You go out to work because you have to work. You can't afford not to work.
Yeah.
And your child is being brought up without any love, care, or exactly. Are you with me?
The primary school that we went to, which was back in the day, had opposite the school. It had what seemed to me when I was 8, 9, a massive field. We used to have sports days and 100 yards dash and all that kind of stuff. Go there now, it's a housing estate. So that school has nowhere for the kids to play other than the tarmac and the playground. And what that tells me is that the people who made that decision don't really care about the health and vitality of the children.
No, quite.
They don't. It's that thought process. It's a little bit. I could rattle on ages about this kind of thing. You know, the pay and display thing. You park your car, and then the ticket machine is right down the road, right? So imagine you're a woman, and you've got 3 kids in the car, and it's peeing with rain. You've got 2 choices, right? You either leave the kids in the car while you go and get the ticket and run the risk of them getting kidnapped, or you take them all down and all get soaked.
All a hassle.
Yeah, it's all a hassle because the people who put that parking regulation in don't care about people.
But it's like during lockdown, isn't it? They closed the gyms, they closed the churches, they closed yoga centres, fitness centres, health spas, but you could get a Big Mac. You could go and get your chicken nuggets. Seriously?
Yeah, I know.
Seriously?
I know, it's extraordinary.
I mean, it is.
The madness.
I remember the stories of gym owners being arrested.
Yes, they were.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And one guy went to court and won, actually, didn't he?
Yes, it's a way, I mean, you'll know this because you guys work out. It's a way to get sanity.
Completely.
It's brilliant for mental health.
Same with walking.
Absolutely brilliant.
Same with walking. Absolutely.
And so to me, the attack during lockdown was on mental health. It was on the people who actually, like you said, the old ladies with the church, or the vulnerable who they said they were protecting. They weren't. They were attacking.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what's the future now then, gents? Well, how are you going to... You said, how do we unite the right? How are you two gents going to help save the country?
Well, we aren't going to help save the country.
You're not?
They need much more...
I'm very disappointed.
Well, they need much more capable people than us.
I completely disagree.
Do you?
I think you guys have got all the ingredients required to blaze a path. I absolutely do.
I think this country deserves better.
No. I gleaned that within 5 minutes of talking to you.
Okay.
The way you described the way you've conducted your lives. It's an admirable life both of you have led.
Maybe. I don't feel I'm qualified, but
well, I mean,
I don't know. Maybe
our thing is, at the moment at least, our thing is to make music that cheer people up.
Well, that's a good way of doing it.
That's always been us. That's for me personally.
Speaking. Yeah. I've always thought the idea of getting on stage and leaving an audience more depressed at the end than they were at the beginning is not really much of a point.
You should come to one of my speeches.
Is that at the end, is it?
Yes, self-harm.
Is Habib still going on?
People drinking.
Well, I remember as a kid, I went to see Geoffrey Howe speak when I was very young. And he was doing about 4 speeches in the area where I lived. So I thought, I'll pop along and see what it was like. And it was really disappointing. Not because of the first speech, that was fine. But the second speech was exactly the same as the first one.
Yeah.
And the third one was the same as the first. And it's like, oh, mate, come on, be a bit more, responsive to the audience. But so that's our main shtick at the moment, which is.
Have you got any new music being released?
It's got a single called "Raise Your Hands," which is an intentionally anthemic, uplifting track that comes out next month.
Yeah,
and we may. The release may be delayed because we had more interest in it than we were expecting, because we're still cancelled in some areas. Only in the UK.
Are you? Really?
Oh yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We are.
Wow.
So it's so funny. There's some festivals that go on around us, like
we're never invited.
Like
ever.
I think there's Cookham Green. It's not a bad festival. Gilfest. There's a couple of others in our area. We are never ever invited.
I mean, we could walk there. We could actually walk there.
But we are. But yeah, we're not much of a touring band, but we do 15, 20 shows a year, something like that, depending on...
That's pretty good. That's one a month,
Yeah, something like that. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. And so we tend to...
We've got a good drummer too now.
Yeah, we've got a good band at the moment. We've sort of pared it down to a 4-piece, so it's quite portable. So promoters like that, they don't look at our contract and go, 20 people, we travel with 6 or 7 people. It's very easy, pretty easy, yeah. So we're doing some shows. We've got a track coming out. We're involved with some producers, a remixer called Ward, Joe Ward, and he's doing some really good stuff. And we're just doing some different projects at the moment. Involved in a couple of films, sort of in the back in the
There's a documentary on the...
Yeah, we've been approached about a documentary, which we may or may not do.
Yeah.
So pretty active.
It is really,
yeah. But also, we like performing and playing. And the thing that we struggle with is people aren't used to musicians just saying what they think, because we've never had media training, ever.
As you can tell.
As you can tell.
No, I disagree. I think this is a very clever ruse.
To be completely untutored.
Exactly. So
that's Donald Trump School of Public Speaking.
Yeah. But when we were...
a bit of a low bar.
It is a bit of a low bar.
Yeah. We did a new record in... it was 2001, and we did a deal with a small label. It went through BMG. Anyway, and it was very successful. So we were all over TV in Europe and all this sort of stuff. And at one point, record company lady came up. She said, "Have you ever thought of media training?" She was trying to be subtle. Yeah, we have, and we're not doing it. Bye.
Thank you, love.
Yeah. Bless her, because that's what all the projects, all the Simon Cowell, those sort of artists that do that. The stuff you see on TV a lot. Most of them do media training. Most of them are fairly heavily controlled.
Yeah.
And we were talking to a manager, a very well-known manager, I won't say his name, about 10 years ago. And he said, "You do know you are unmanageable, don't you?" So I said, "Yeah, I just look at that way." He's lovely man. He said, "You can't, you're unmanageable. You're just too difficult. You're too difficult to deal with."
Well, I would be proud of that if I were you.
Well, yeah, exactly. He's a good guy, so he wasn't intentionally being rude. He's just saying where he realised what's going on.
You're real libertarians.
Yeah, we often think about it. But I remember when we were signed, we had I had a problem with my boyfriend at the time was very, very sick, and it was completely messing with my head. And so I turned down a TV show because I just couldn't get my head around it. And this guy, I won't say his name, phoned us up, head of the label, and he said, "You've got to do this TV show. You've got to do it." And I said, "I can't do it. Stuart's really poorly, blah, blah, blah." And he said, "If you don't do it, you'll never work again." It's like when John Lennon put a toilet seat around his head in 1961. Yeah. You'll never work again. It's just, that's what I don't want to hear. Don't tell me what is and what isn't. I'm wise enough to know the difference. But yeah, I shall never forget that. You'll never work again. Oh, really? Okay.
Whatever. Oh dear. So be it.
Yeah, so be it. But I mean, at the moment, music is the thing. I mean, I really love politics. I'm more than Fred, I think, and I like
I prefer. Yeah, I see more of a cultural conversation.
Yeah, I like the.
Well, I think they're very close.
They are.
They
are.
They are.
That's why I don't think there's a left or right.
Yeah.
I think it's much more to do with.
People are saying right and wrong now. That's what they're saying.
They are.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're either right. Well, I don't.
I'm very, very right.
I'm always right.
I'm always right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I don't. There are some things in modern life that are so patently wrong, like the Chinese embassy, as an example.
Yeah.
Are so obviously wrong, and so anybody that wants to push that is clearly not looking at the best interests of the country.
No, which means there's a whole load of other stuff that's wrong.
Absolutely.
Because that shows me that they're not in the right place.
No, that's exactly. That's what
the
lockdown did for me. If you think this is the right policy, you're wrong in loads of other areas.
I shall never forget walking through London, and I remember seeing one of those free newspapers they had, and it was a picture of Boris Johnson with a pair of sort of surgical glasses on, holding up a syringe, and the headline was "The needle is the route to freedom." I remember something like that. I remember thinking, that's a really inspiring message, isn't it?
With Boris Johnson.
Yeah, with Boris.
Yeah. I mean,
like Boris, it's not PG, is it?
No, exactly. So I just, it's been a gradual, because as I said earlier, when we were kids, it all seemed homogenous. It seemed I didn't agree with Harold Wilson. I didn't agree with everything Margaret Thatcher did, but I knew that we were all sort of on the same side.
Yeah,
roughly. We could all disagree with the minutiae.
It's not clear now.
But it's not clear now, and that's my biggest problem. My biggest problem is that we're not all on the same side, and I think the people who aren't on board need to leave. I really do.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, can I just say what a pleasure it's been to have you
on?
Thank
you, Ben.
Hey,
and what a tragedy it is that you're not going to be full-time in politics.
Watch this space.
Yeah, well, I think you guys could do a lot. I'll pitch you later.
All right. Okay.
Fair,
Okay. Well, no, it's. I mean, because things. We've been. I'm really torn because we've been talking about moving abroad, right?
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that wants to. And the other part, I often think, what would Dad do right now? He lied to get into the Merchant Navy in 19 whatever it was, and I don't know whether he would, if he was sitting here now, he would say, leave because it's rubbish here, or whether he would say,
stay and fight.
Stay and fight. Yeah. I'm not sure what he'd say. That's
I'm mixed because
I know.
I agree with the fight, but I am slightly pissed off with the country because it cancelled us. Only country in the world to cancel us. And I thought, my own country's cancelled me. I'm not mad about that.
No, that's not cool.
No, it's not cool. No, during the whole time, we could go and work in Austria, and we went to the States, and we did this all through. When we were getting cancelled here, we had work elsewhere. They didn't have a problem with us.
No.
In fact, one massive TV show in Germany, we walked in. The guy said, "You've got to put on a mask." I said, "No, I haven't." He said, "Oh, thank God for that," and took his mask off.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and that was the middle of
Germany.
Yeah, Germany. Yeah,
and there was
that was the middle of the lockdown. They were great.
There was another pop show we did, and the producer came up to me. Do you remember that guy with the grey hair, quite stocky?
Right.
Probably really good looking when he was younger.
Okay. No,
anyway, and he was sort of fuming about something. And I said, "You're right." He said, "I have to pay personally out of my budget for all the tests that all the staff have to go through for COVID.
Well, every time they
come in, I have to pay for the test."
His production costs.
Well, that was a good scam. Wasn't
his production costs went through the roof.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that was, but as Fred said, we never had that issue in Europe.
No other country
was like that.
No.
And you can always tell when you're watching a film now that was filmed in the early mid-20s, and everybody's wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I know when you made this film. I know when you made this film. But we never. In fact, I fell over in the bath once. During lockdown, banged my head really badly. Fred had to not break the door down, had to come in and there was blood everywhere. He should have taken a few pictures. Yeah. I mean, it would have been great for TikTok,
It was extraordinary, the blood.
Because, if you cut your head, it goes
everywhere.
Anyway, I was taken to hospital, and I was there for about a day and a half to 2 days or whatever it was. And a consultant nurse came in, and she was probably about 25, I would think. And I said, just out of interest, because I was in for COVID. That's what they said, not for broken head. That was a scam. Everybody was in for COVID. If you broke your leg, you're in for COVID.
Yeah.
And I said, just out of interest, have you ever heard of ivermectin? Have you ever heard of it? And she said, can you spell it? At which point I thought she's never heard of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I spelt it. She flipped over her phone, looked for about 10 seconds, and then flipped it shut and walked out.
Yeah.
Didn't want to know.
No, they don't want to know.
They didn't want to know. And when
the minds were shut.
Yeah. When I left the hospital, the ambulance man came and said, as I was walking down the corridor, he said, you've got to put a mask on. And a minute I put it on maybe for about 30 or 40 seconds. And the minute I got to the front door, he walked outside, he said, take it off, they don't do anything. Ambulance man. I mean, it was just...
Well, I think there's been a debate, though I think the received wisdom has fallen in favour of masks, has come down in favour of masks. There's been a debate that, surgeons may not actually need to wear masks in...
That's right.
When
they've done trials with or without.
Really?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make much of a difference.
No, because it's mostly blood splatter. Because I got doctors in my family. It's predominantly to do with blood splatter. But there's been trials. I think particularly abroad. I can't remember which country.
It's deep cutting and proper.
Proper surgery.
Proper surgery. They've found there's no difference in infection rates. Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very much a personal thing.
Right. But
thank you for having us.
Yeah.
No. Thank you for coming on.
Yes,
and a huge pleasure. I've watched you from afar, and I've been watching your tweets and everything, or posts all night, as they call them now. And very impressed with everything you're doing. I think it is a shame that you won't join Advance and stand in the next election. There you go.
As I say, watch this space.
Yeah, watch this space.
Yeah. As I say, I mean, I just, it's just we've been through a bit of a ringer, haven't we? Lately,
we have.
With the band and the way the country's gone, and it's just been a bit of a. And as I said to you earlier, I think the reason that people get confused is because the attack is coming from all sorts of sides, but the target is always the same.
It's the people.
It's the people.
Yeah.
That's the point, and people need to get that. In fact, a copper said to us, we've been on a few demonstrations.
Well, we got a phone call, but a friend of a friend from the Met.
Yeah,
said you're in the crosshairs. You need to dial it down.
Yeah. I mean, extraordinary. And then you've got Liz Truss saying...
I've never had a phone call. I'm not doing it right.
and Liz Truss now is saying that policing in some areas has been handed over to Muslim committees. I mean, really? Is this true? I mean,
we saw that, didn't we, with the West Midlands
Ayub Khan.
Guilford, the policeman who basically took the knee to the threats being made by the Muslims against the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. It wasn't the Tel Aviv fans who were the threat.
No.
It was the other way around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's my thing is also it's, when you have MPs standing up in the House making a case for incest,
I know.
it's weird.
That's a weird conversation.
It's a weird conversation.
That's a very good way to put it.
That's what they're doing. Yeah,
it is incest.
So what's next? Are we
child abuse is strategy?
Yeah, child? We're going to okay that, are we?
Yeah.
Okay, brothers and sisters, mums.
You jest.
I know,
but I think there is a you look at the way that paedophiles are treated actually quite leniently.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a kind of
MAPs they call them, aren't they?
Minor attractive.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the expression I was trying to.
That's just too.
Yeah,
words,
no, just a paedophile, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this. We did a song before this single coming up. We did a song called "Spiritual War," and Fred knows a Father Augustine.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine who's a Franciscan monk.
And he's a Franciscan monk, and he's convinced that this is a spiritual war. That it is good
for
completely.
He completely believes that.
He thinks the devil's in the room.
Yeah,
no question.
And we made we recorded a song called "Spiritual War," and Fred put the video together from all the clippings. And when you see the clippings, when you're reminded of what went on, when you see coppers beating up on people on the street,
during lockdown,
it is absolutely
law-abiding people.
And it's that. I think it's that. The old saying, when God walks out the room, the devil walks in. I really think there's an element of that when we have assisted dying up, for, even if you're poor, apparently. There's a guy who stood up in the House of Lords the other day, implying that poverty might be a reason for assisted dying. Then you have abortion up to the point of birth.
Abortion up to the point of birth.
I mean, really, I'm not a religious person, but that is utterly disgusting.
It's
revolting. And it takes... I mean, there's a woman on social who's braying about the fact she's had 28 abortions or something. Like it's a good thing.
That's not a good thing.
And that's where have we got to? Where that the essence, the primacy of life itself.
Yeah.
And I remember years ago somebody said, "Who speaks for the unborn?" And I suddenly thought, yes, exactly.
That's true. Yeah.
Everybody's talking around it, but there's a person there inside who doesn't have a voice.
And that comes back. I mean, in spades to the point you were making that there are people who need assistance. And there can be no one who needs greater assistance than an unborn child.
Absolutely. If the state can't step in and protect that person, what's it there for?
Yeah.
But
anyway, it's time to burn the state down in a proverbial way.
Yes.